we kind of treat the crystal as something that does something, but we don't know what it does for sure. We seem to feel that it has healing powers, it has powers of communication. It seems to have all kinds of things, but what? And how will you know until you know exactly what a crystal is? The crystal is a living thing. It's not just a piece of quartz. If light puts things together, then we could take them apart. And this is one way I did it. I put a little experiment together, and this is what I did. I drew a triangle on a table. Then I got 3 little tetrahedrons, which were coat hanger wire, and they stood one here like that. Here's your tetrahedron here. That's a bad show there, but there's one stood here and one stood here, and here's the point of them. They're looking at each other. Let's put on a plane. There's one standing here, and there's one standing here, and there's one standing here. Okay? Now, of these 3 tetrahedrons, they're only about 9 inches high, and they were only made of wire. But the shape that I was talking about has an influence on it. The shape of those tetrahedrons created a movement inside that's called a pyramid. And the movement itself started to cooperate with the other 2. This one's talking to that one and that one. Now, I put a little wooden arm here. I'll draw it sideways. It's like a lamp post, a wooden arm, and this arm stuck out. And on the end of here, I hung a piece of string with a small piece of zinc, pure zinc, about 2 inches long, 1.5 inches wide, and 1/16 of an inch thick. And I hung it here, like that. It's over here, stood here, and it's hung down there. Here's your zinc. So between this pyramid here and this one here, they are talking to each other, if you like. That's in simple terms. What is happening is that they send electrons to each other. You probably heard about Tesla's energy through the ether. These do it naturally. Now, the energy that was being collected into here, I'll describe exactly how it happens in a minute. But these 3 pyramids are talking to each other. In other words, this one's sending energy to, it can't go to there, it goes to the nearest thing that attracts it. So the energy is shooting from here to there, and there to there, and there to there. After about 3 weeks of this bombardment going on, these were sending out electrons towards each other and hitting the zinc. If an electron hits the zinc, electron can't come out. It wants in. The only thing it can kick out is a proton. So all these 3 were bombarding these electrons, and eventually, like it's kicking protons out, eventually the whole thing collapsed onto a little pile of powder here. A little pile of powder. All I know was that my zinc had collapsed, and I had it tested, and it was calcium. It would be unfair of me not to show you some of the dangers as well. Now, if you can imagine the 30-foot pyramid that I had, knowing that it contained energy, and it's free-flowing, it's always coming in, and it's non-stop. I said, well, why can't I harness this? Little crystals will do it. Why can't I harness a pyramid? So I made myself, I'll just go to the blackboard there and give you an idea what I'm talking about. I made myself 2 coils. One was just a small one like this, and it was electric coil, counterclockwise. And I hung that in the top of the pyramid. But before I did that, it was stove wire, and there's about 8 strands of copper wire and stove wire. And I undid them and made them into a lot of fingers like this, spread them out, something like an antenna. And this end here, I just hung it up, fastened it up onto the beams, and that was right in the peak. Now I went downstairs and I had a spare piece of plywood, quarter ply, and I made a magnetic coil with old antenna wire. It was double wire. And I put one end straight through into the earth, and so looking at it like this, it stuck through there, and my coil is on here like that. And the other end I left standing up to connect. One's into the earth. Now all this wire here, it's only quarter ply, and I used 2-inch staples. The staples went straight through the ply and gave me a better ground. This was also ground in the centre. Now, there are many things that have happened to me in my time that I can't really explain. There are many things that I have known, but don't know how I know. And this is one instance where this happened to me. I knew I had to connect these two together with some natural wool, sheep's wool. Nylon was not what I wanted. And so I got hold of some ordinary wool, and I measured it out. Up the stairs go right to the top. I measured it out so it hung from here to within 6 inches of the floor. Plenty to fasten to that and to fasten to this. Now I stood on some steps up there and fastened that to there, just wrapped around, tied it round. Simple, nothing clever about it, just fastened it to this copper wire. And I hung this down through the steps, through the stairway, until it was hanging down, but it wasn't touching the floor. I went downstairs to connect this to that, and as I caught hold of that, it threw me 20 feet across the floor. I'm 180 pounds, and it picked me up and threw me 20 feet across the floor. I got no skin on this elbow here and all down my leg here. And I lay there for about 5 minutes at least, wouldn't know what happened to me. All I had done was touched a piece of wool. Now, this wool had gone through, it wasn't even connected to this, it had gone through my cube root of the pyramid, which was about here, and up to the point, the second magnitude there, and that part was connected. And when I touched that, I grounded the whole damn thing, and it threw me 20 feet across the floor. I didn't know what had happened to me, and the result of it was I took the whole thing to pieces. I still have the parts.